always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. This is a horrible thing to say.
Hey, lovelies. It's Blake Lively's pristine reputation that's on the verge of total collapse. And y'all, it's almost unbelievable how fast everything is unraveling. In just the span of a few days, she and her team have managed to turn a minor hiccup into a full-throttle PR nightmare that nobody, seriously, nobody saw coming. It is so out of control that fans are calling it one of the most epic celeb meltdown fails in recent memory. And as if that wasn't already more than enough drama for 1 week, her husband Ryan Reynolds went and added extra chaos by dragging Justin Baldoni even deeper into this swirling mess. The receipts are piling up, the internet is having a field day, and you won't believe the level of pettiness that's been exposed. There is so much ground to cover, so buckle up, grab your popcorn, and let's dive straight into the drama. But first, do the right thing. Please smash that like button and subscribe, because mama's gotta get her nails done. You feel me? And every click counts. Got it? Good. Let's start where it all began, the blame game. The meltdown kicked off right after Blake and Justin began promoting It Ends With Us, a film that was already surrounded by controversy before the cameras even started rolling, given the heavy subject matter of domestic violence, DV, and emotional trauma. You'd think the cast would handle everything with empathy and caution. Well, you'd be wrong. During these press tours, fans started picking up on Blake's attitude. The side eyes, the dismissive responses, the casual tone whenever DV or trauma was brought up. A lot of folks noticed that she seemed more interested in pushing her personal business ventures than diving into the substance of the story. Twitter threads popped up overnight, highlighting exactly where and how Blake came across as insensitive. Crisis was manageable at first. You know how it goes. A short apology, maybe a heartfelt social media statement, and you move on. But no, Blake's team decided to double down by insinuating that the awkwardness was entirely Justin Baldoni's fault. I mean, did they really think fans weren't going to dissect every snippet of those interviews? Because dissect they did meticulously, comparing Blake's reactions and Justin's responses in side-by-side clips.
I'm honored, and I'm also more honored that because, what we're talking about is so important and so meaningful, that we're able to have this much anticipation, and so many people want to go see it and are talking about it. That's what I'm grateful for.
And you had a key part in bringing it to the big screen. How did this all come to be?
Well, in 2019, I read the book. I was sent the book by my book agent and friend at the time, and I was looking for films that could inspire, that were commercially viable, but also could really reach in and touch somebody's heart.
Well, the internet is undefeated in pulling up receipts, and let's just say those receipts weren't too flattering for Miss Lively. This was basically the first big misstep that turned a small controversy into a headline-making fiasco. Instead of saying, hey, Blake had a bad day, we're all human, they shot themselves in the foot by passing the buck onto Justin. If their plan was to distract the public, it backfired spectacularly. Suddenly, the entire narrative shifted into a was Blake hiding something bigger? Conversation. And trying to point fingers, they only managed to point them right back at themselves. We all know how social media loves a juicy scandal. There's no sweeping that under the rug once it starts trending. So, the first fiasco wasn't messy enough, apparently, because Blake's team decided to level up. Instead of hitting pause and offering a sincere explanation for her weird vibe during press junkets, they went the route of claiming a planted story. Cue the collective eye roll, because let's be real, calling legitimate backlash planted is one of the oldest PR tactics in the book. The plan was something like, if we label all criticism as a carefully orchestrated smear campaign, maybe the public will doubt its authenticity. But folks aren't buying it these days. This is 2025, and fans can spot a contrived PR narrative a mile away. Here's the rub. If you're going to call an entire wave of criticism fake, you better be 100% sure there aren't gigabytes of video clips floating around to prove otherwise. Spoiler alert, there were, and they're all over TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. People can literally see Blake's dismissive remarks in real time. So, the planted story angle only made them look worse. That's what happens when you try to gaslight an audience that's become master level at capturing, uploading, and dissecting every second of a celeb's public life. On top of that, the planted story strategy undermined any shred of credibility Blake's camp had left.
So it's a bit of a tough adjustment in our house, but it's good. I mean, I have two other daughters, so my oldest is very into the baby, but my middle child, not so much. But we're thinking of keeping her.
Does she like play with her? What does she think?
Well, she sort of like pretends to play with her. So like in the beginning, our oldest is like loving on her, and she's like very maternal, and then our middle daughter is just keeps away from her.
You can't just wave away the very real, very public footage of her questionable behavior. And ironically, by drawing even more attention to these interviews, Blake's team practically begged fans to dig deeper. It was the Streisand effect on steroids. Attempt to bury something, and the internet will dig it up even more passionately. If there was ever a time to step up, issue a sincere apology, and pivot back to the film's deeper themes, that moment was completely squandered. Instead, they played the victim, going as far as insinuating that not just fans, but major media outlets were in on some elaborate conspiracy. It's like they handed the drama a megaphone and said, "Please get louder." At this point, we're already in PR Armageddon territory, but leave it to Blake's team to make it even more catastrophic by letting the legal sharks loose. Because, yes, that's exactly what you want to do when you're being criticized for insensitive remarks. Turn it into a lawsuit extravaganza. Look, we all know that once lawyers step in, the story takes on a whole new life. Suddenly, it isn't about whether Blake was rude or dismissive. Now it's about cease and desist letters, alleged smear campaigns, and potential defamation suits. This was the moment that took a film meant to highlight DB's survival and turned it into tabloid fodder. Instead of allowing the conversation to focus on healing and empowerment, the actual theme of the novel they're adapting, we ended up drowning in legal documents and tea-spilling depositions. If the goal was to put a lid on the scandal, guess what? They blew that wide open the second the legal route was chosen. It was like throwing gasoline on a dumpster fire. Fans and the press were already in detective mode. Now they had a brand new angle to investigate. And that's when more people started sharing their personal run-ins with Blake. Past coworkers and others behind the scenes started speaking out, adding layers of stories about her alleged mean streak. It's one thing when fans are upset about your public statements. It's another thing entirely when ex-staffers and acquaintances start coming forward with behind-the-scenes details that paint you as a legit nightmare. That's when you know the narrative is officially out of your control. And to top it off, the entire point of It Ends With Us, which is to address domestic violence and the complexities of survivor experiences, got lost in the noise. Instead of praising or critiquing the film's portrayal of these critical themes, the public was laser-focused on the meltdown swirling around its lead actress.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
Talk about overshadowing your own project in the worst way possible. Just when you think the meltdown train has run out of tracks, in comes Ryan Reynolds with a fresh load of chaos. Now, Ryan has a reputation for being the witty, fourth wall-breaking Deadpool star who's basically the king of snark. But this time, fans believe he's used that snark in a way that totally backfired on both him and Blake. Apparently, some of Ryan's newest Deadpool 3 scenes are raising eyebrows because they seem to be taking direct swipes at Justin Baldoni. Those jokes, references, and even certain visual cues are just a little too on the nose to be accidental. There's talk about how the script pokes fun at podcast culture. And guess who runs a major podcast on masculinity? Or how there's a suspiciously familiar storyline about dealing with an uncooperative co-star. Combine that with the fact that Blake had accused Justin of everything from body shaming to stifling her creative vision, and you start seeing some major parallels. Fans are going, wait a minute, if Blake was truly traumatized by Justin's actions, why is Ryan making comedic jabs about it? Good question. Because it either reveals that the allegations weren't taken seriously behind closed doors, or it shows that they're using these allegations as fodder for a marketing ploy. Both possibilities are equally cringe-inducing. Justin Baldoni's legal team, of course, wasted no time in claiming that Ryan's stunts demonstrate how non-serious the couple is about the entire fiasco. Suddenly, what was originally framed as a grave series of allegations looks more like a petty war of words that bled into a multi-million-dollar superhero franchise. If you're a judge or jury member seeing this, you might question the sincerity of Blake's claims. And that is Without a doubt, a massive blow to her credibility. Remember those days when Blake and Ryan were considered a Hollywood power couple? They had that squeaky clean brand, funny, sophisticated, philanthropic. Well, that brand is taking a serious beating right now. This fiasco is like a masterclass in how to destroy your image in record time.
So you have something of Gigi's in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a wedding, like something old, something borrowed, something blue, something new.
Wait, which
except
one?
it's
Now I want to think of the scene.
Oh, I'm wearing her stuff all over it.
Oh,
And
really?
tons of like Bodhi, which is with the suit now that I'm wearing is Bodhi. It was meant for my husband, but I
Wait,
borrowed
that's
it.
his suit?
It was meant for him to wear, but it's so pretty. Look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
Here's the kicker. Instead of coming across as a unified team, the pair's actions now look disorganized and catty. Between Blake's attempts to overshadow Justin Baldoni on the It Ends With Us set and Ryan's seemingly petty jabs in Deadpool 3, it's starting to look less like a championing couple and more like two high school bullies who convinced each other they could do no wrong. And rumor has it that Ryan even floated the idea of buying Justin out of the film altogether, like literally paying him off to step away from his own project. Talk about crossing professional boundaries. The level of entitlement that implies is staggering. And guess what? Justin refused, which only made the Reynolds lively duo appear even more desperate to wrestle total control over a film they didn't originate. Then there's that premiere fiasco where Justin was reportedly sidelined from major interviews and forced into smaller press events while Blake essentially took the spotlight. What should have been a victory lap for the film's original champion turned into a humiliating afterthought. It's giving major Mean Girls vibes, except with more money and bigger egos. Now the big question is, where do things go from here? If Justin's team can prove that Blake's allegations are inconsistent, especially when you factor in Ryan's comedic jabs, it could completely flip any legal proceedings on their head. All those claims of harassment, body shaming, or on-set misconduct suddenly look a whole lot murkier when your own spouse is literally making fun of them in a blockbuster script. In 2017, Ryan felt a ton of pressure from his co-stars to undo himself. Meanwhile, the It Ends With Us film is caught in the crossfire, its message overshadowed by the personal vendettas playing out in real time.
We always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. This is a horrible thing to say. And he's like, I mean, I've got a long list. And I was like, oh really? Because I just have one on my list. I don't have anyone on my list.
And then it wasn't funny anymore.
No, it's so much more of a burn. He's like, wait, who? And I was like,
and he's
think of
guessing.
someone. Bob Newhart. I don't know.
Fans of the book are furious that a heartfelt story about domestic violence and healing has been used as the backdrop for petty celebrity feuding. Production insiders are leaking even more behind-the-scenes drama, while the cast and crew, who just wanted to make a meaningful film, are stuck answering questions about lawsuits and shady jokes. As for Blake, she seems to be in a lose-lose situation. If she doubles down on her original accusations, people will point to Ryan's irreverent references and call her a hypocrite. If she backtracks now, she looks untrustworthy and manipulative. This is what we call PR checkmate, and not the good kind. Honestly, this whole meltdown is one for the Hollywood history books. What started as a few raised eyebrows about Blake Lively's off-day attitude has snowballed into a multi-layered fiasco involving blame shifting, conspiracy theories, lawsuits, and a possible sabotage scenario, courtesy of Ryan Reynolds. It's basically the ultimate cautionary tale in crisis management, or the lack thereof. So, what do y'all think? Is Blake's team just grasping at straws, or is there a bigger, unseen hand stirring the pot behind the scenes? Have we reached the point of no return for her reputation, or can she somehow stage a comeback by finally taking accountability? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I need to know where y'all stand on this soap opera. One thing's for sure, this drama shows no signs of slowing down. So, until next time, my beautiful people, thank you for sticking around. You better hit that subscribe button right now because who knows what wild developments tomorrow's headlines might bring. Until next time, stay messy, stay blessed, and I'll catch you in the next drama-soaked update.